What is noise? And what does it have to do with jazz? Well, there are a couple different definitions for noise. The first being a sound, especially one that is loud or unpleasant, or that causes disturbance. The second being more dated, meaning to talk about or make known publicly. From Tony Williams's Emergency to John Zorn's You Will Be Shot. Well, there's a lot to say about noise. The story that I'm here to tell for you today starts around the late 1960s. Fusion. Rock and roll was rising to the forefront of American pop culture, but jazz was still around, and like jazz always has, it changed. Jazz and rock and roll fell in love like sex and psychedelics. Like whatever new kind of jazz was coming up, lines of genres were blurred. You got musicians like Miles Davis, Tony Williams, Jimi Hendrix, and John McLaughlin, moving towards rock or towards jazz or towards whichever way they weren't before. Every instrument is electric. Dials are up high, tempo's fast, but it's still jazz. Somehow no one could ever really tell you what it was that made fusion and not just some combination of one or the other. But if anyone agreed on anything, it was that fusion was loud. It was loud and it was fast and it was intense. You know, maybe jazz and rock aren't so different after all. They both involve lots of improvisation, seem to be ways to prove one's masculinity, and whose public memory is often crowded out by white people who have co-opted the black artists who came before them. But there's gotta be a reason that we still hear rock on the radio all the time, but jazz seems like everyone's favorite novel that they love, but somehow have never really read.
I love sounds just as they are, and I have no need for them to be anything more than what they are. I don't want them to be psychological. I don't want a sound to pretend that it's a bucket, or that it's a president, or that it's in love with another sound. I just want it to be a sound. You know that, don't you?
Separate images that I then scored as if I was writing a soundtrack. And I took these cards, each one with a different image and a different musical moment on it, and I began to order it in different ways until I found what I felt was the perfect ordering. And then I went into the studio armed with these cards, which really is what the score amounts to.
At some point, you gotta think about how can two composers in the same genre have such different interpretations of what noise is supposed to be. Here we see John Cage's work, 433, which exhibits a very minimalist and passive approach to sound, allowing sound to manifest as passive noises rather than as a collection of very, very carefully selected sounds. In John Zorn's work, whether you like him or not, Zorn's compositions all show a very acute sense of purpose, a very deliberate arrangement to all the noises, however strange they may be. So, what's the point? What's all this noise about noise? What does John Cage's 433 have to do with fusion? And why was postmodernism ushered in with an excerpt from the theme song to Sonic Adventure Battle 2, the video game? But then again, none of what I'm saying has inherent meaning. And honestly, who gives a shit whether fusion started more as rock or more as jazz? It's all just sound. It's all just sound.
None of what I'm saying has meaning.